The wind moved gently over the tall cornfields of Sector 9. The sun had set, and darkness covered the land. Eli, a quiet human farmer, stood on his porch, staring at the moonlit rows of crops. Something felt wrong. Again, his food stock was lower than expected. Again, his motion alarms had flashed during the night. And again, he found fresh footprints in the dirt, small and barefoot. Someone was stealing from his land. He picked up his old plasma torch and headed toward the fields. His boots crunched on the dry ground, every step making his heart beat faster. He had seen war, he had seen hunger, but this was personal. He couldn't afford to lose food. Not when every ration mattered, but deep inside, a part of him hoped it was just an animal. Maybe a wild dog or a lost scavenger drone. Not someone desperate enough to steal. As he reached the third row near the storage shed, he heard a soft rustle. He froze, holding his breath. Another rustle. Then a shadow dashed between the corn stalks. Eli jumped forward, swinging his torchlight. "Stop right there," he shouted. The light caught a thin figure, crouched and shaking. Her silver blue skin glowing faintly under the beam. An alien girl, no older than 20, dressed in torn clothes and wrapped in a thin, dirty cloak. Her eyes, wide and glowing, stared back at him in fear. Her hands trembled. One of them still holding a half-eaten corn cob. She dropped the food and raised both hands. "Please," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Don't call the guards, please." Eli stood still, unsure what to do. This wasn't some bandit or rebel. She looked half-starved, skin stretched tight over bones, her legs scratched and bruised. Still, she was trespassing. Still, she was stealing. "You're on private land," Eli said coldly. "I could report you." Her lips trembled. But she didn't lower her hands. "I know," she said, "but I had no choice. I needed food." "For yourself?" he asked, narrowing his eyes. She hesitated, then slowly shook her head. "For my sister." Eli looked around. "Where is she?" The girl didn't answer right away. "She's hiding." "In the hills, sick, can't walk," she whispered. "I just wanted something to bring her. Just a little, I swear." He stepped closer, still holding the torchlight steady. "What's your name?" he asked. She looked at him with tired eyes, unsure if she should answer. "Karel," she said finally. "My name is Karel." Eli didn't reply. His heart felt heavy, but his mind was racing. Sheltering an alien was illegal in this zone, especially ones from crashed refugee ships. Rumors said the Empire sent patrols to punish anyone who helped them. And yet this girl didn't look dangerous. She looked broken. Then she did something unexpected. She lowered her hands, took a small step forward, and said, "I can't offer much, but if you let me stay, I will give you everything I have." Eli frowned. "What does that mean?" She looked into his eyes, voice trembling. "Myself. My body, my soul, my work, anything." Eli turned away quickly, his jaw tight. "I'm not that kind of man." He said, "I didn't mean it like that," she whispered, ashamed. "I meant, I will obey. I'll clean, help with crops, anything. Just don't send me away." For a long moment, silence filled the cornfield. Then, a soft cry echoed through the darkness, faint, almost like a cough. Eli looked up, toward the hills. Was that her sister? He sighed deeply, running a hand through his messy hair. "Come," he said finally. "Not a word, not a sound. You understand?" Karel nodded quickly, eyes wide with disbelief. He led her through the back path, away from the house, toward the old storage barn. It was dusty, unused, but warm and dry. He gave her a blanket and a bottle of water. "Stay here tonight," he said. "Tomorrow we talk." Karel sat down quietly, clutching the blanket like it was gold. Eli turned to leave, then paused. "One lie," he said. "One trick, and I report you." "I won't lie," she whispered. "I already gave you the truth. as he walked back to his house. Torchlight bouncing against the dirt path, Eli felt the weight of his decision. He was now part of something dangerous. But somehow he couldn't turn away. Not from her eyes, not from her voice, not from the pain she carried. And in the darkness of the cornfield, something new had taken root, not fear, but something dangerously close to hope. The old barn was quiet. Moonlight slipped through cracks in the wooden walls, painting soft lines across the hay. Creel sat with the blanket wrapped around her thin shoulders, her silver blue skin shivering. Despite the warmth, she hadn't closed her eyes all night. Every small sound made her flinch. She was used to running, hiding, surviving, but not this. Not silence, not safety. Outside, Eli walked slowly toward the barn with a tin plate in his hands. He hadn't slept either. His thoughts circled around her, an alien thief who offered herself for safety. But there was more behind her eyes than hunger. Something heavy, something old, when he entered. She stood up quickly, afraid he had changed his mind. He just held out the plate. "Breakfast," he said quietly. "It's not much." Her eyes widened when she saw it: bread, some dried fruit, and half a boiled egg. She took it with both hands and bowed her head. "Thank you," she whispered, voice dry. "I didn't expect this." "I didn't either," he muttered, sitting on a barrel nearby. They sat in silence while she ate slowly, every bite careful, like it might disappear. When she was done, she licked her fingers and folded the tin plate neatly on her lap. Then she looked at him with serious eyes. "I owe you," she said. "Let me earn my place." Eli raised an eyebrow. "I told you last night I'm not looking for." "I know." She interrupted gently. "I'm not offering myself like that." She touched her chest. "I meant all of me. My hands, my strength, my loyalty. I want to stay, work for you, protect my sister, and not run anymore." Eli studied her carefully. She wasn't weak. Not really. Even tired and thin. There was a fire in her voice now. "I can't hide you forever," he said. "If the guards catch you here, they'll burn my farm and chain me too." "I understand," she replied softly. "That's why I'm offering a deal." "What kind of deal?" "7 days," she said. "Give me 7 days to prove I can be useful. If I break a rule or cause trouble, turn me in. But if I earn your trust, then maybe I can stay." Eli didn't answer right away. The idea was foolish, dangerous, reckless, but something about her tone. It was honest, and in this cold world, honesty was rarer than food. He nodded slowly. 7 days, he said. No lies, no stealing, no wandering off. Creel smiled for the first time. Small, but real. "I won't disappoint you." Eli stood and moved toward the door. "There's work to be done," he said. "Sun's rising, and the east field needs water. I'll do it," she said quickly, standing up. He turned to her, surprised. "You're still healing." "I'm used to worse," she said, walking past him, bare feet brushing the cold floor. "I'll earn every hour." They worked side by side that day. Creel hauling water buckets, Eli repairing broken irrigation lines. She didn't complain, even when blisters formed on her hands. She didn't ask for rest, even when her legs shook. Eli gave her small tasks, expecting her to fail. But she didn't. That evening, as the sun dipped low, they sat outside the barn with a small fire between them. He passed her a metal cup with warm broth, and she drank quietly. "You said your sister's sick," Eli said. Finally, "Yes," Creel replied. Her voice softer now. "Nira, she's 12, hasn't eaten properly in days. Where is she?" "In a cave near the ridge." Creel answered, eyes full of worry. "I hid her there before I came looking for food." "You want to bring her here?" he asked. Creel hesitated. "I won't unless you allow it, but she's all I have. She can't survive alone for long." Eli leaned back, thinking. 1, alien on his land was dangerous. 2, That could be death, but a child alone. In the hills. He couldn't ignore that. Tomorrow, he said. We'll go together, bring her here quietly. Tears formed in Corell's eyes, and she nodded quickly. Thank you, she whispered. Clutching the cup close to her chest, you don't know what this means to me. I don't need to, Eli said. Just don't make me regret it. The fire crackled softly between them, and for a moment, they were just two souls under the same sky, different worlds, different pasts, but sharing the same silence. Neither of them knew that these 7 days would change everything, not just for them, but for the entire sector. Because secrets don't stay hidden forever. And, in the shadows beyond the hills, something else had started to move. Eli woke before dawn. The sky was still dark. Only a hint of blue rising behind the hills. The barn was quiet, but not empty anymore, inside. Corell slept curled in the hay, blanket wrapped tightly around her, her breathing soft and even. Eli didn't wake her. He stepped outside, filled his thermos with hot water, and stared toward the ridge. Today, they would bring the second girl, the sick one. Corell stirred at sunrise. Already alert before he called her, she had learned his rhythm, quickly silent, obedient, but never weak. She moved with quiet purpose, brushing hay from her legs and tying back her messy hair. Are you ready? Eli asked, handing her a water flask and bread. Corell nodded. She won't survive another night alone. They took the old hover cart, careful to avoid main roads. The path to the ridge was narrow and hidden, a winding trail used mostly by smugglers and lost traders. Eli kept his eyes on the tree line. Corell walked beside him, slower today, her limp showing more with every step. Still, she didn't complain. She just whispered, "Thank you," once, and kept going. After an hour, they reached a small rock cave near the ridge base. Corell ran forward, dropping to her knees at the entrance. "Nira," she called softly. "It's me." There was a pause, then a soft sound, like a cough. Then to tapping knocks on stone. Corell crawled inside, and a few seconds later, she emerged, cradling a small, thin girl in her arms. The child looked barely alive, skin pale blue and sunken. Her white hair clung to her head in knots, and her lips were cracked from thirst. But her glowing eyes opened slightly when she saw Eli. She didn't speak, just looked at him, scared but calm, as if she didn't have energy left to fear. "This is Nira," Corell whispered, holding her gently. "She can't talk anymore. Not since the crash." Eli looked at the girl, then back at Corell. "We need to move, fast," he said. "She needs warmth, food, medicine." They laid Nira in the hover cart and covered her with Corell's blanket. On the way back, Corell told him more: the crash, the escape, hiding in sewer tunnels, watching others get captured or sold, how Nira had seen her mother fall. And since that day, she hadn't said a single word. Only tapped 2 times for yes, 1 for no. It was the only way she could speak now. When they reached the barn, Eli made space in the hay and brought a heat lamp from the house. He gave the girl soup, drop by drop. Corell wiped her face with clean cloth and whispered songs in her language. Eli didn't understand the words, but the pain in her voice said everything. That night, Eli stayed in the barn longer. He watched them from the corner. A family broken by war and saved by chance. He had questions so many but didn't ask. The girl was real. Her sickness was real. And Corell hadn't lied. That mattered more than answers. But trouble was growing. The next morning, Eli went to the nearest trader to buy extra supplies, blankets, food and medicine. The trader, a wrinkled man named Bram, looked at him with suspicion. "Lot of buying, Eli." Bram muttered, "You got company." Eli shrugged, just trying to prepare for winter. Bram leaned forward, whispering, "You heard about the patrols? Are scanning farms, looking for refugees. They say the bounties doubled for female aliens, especially the blue-skinned. Kind, Eli didn't react, just paid and walked out, but his heart raced faster on the way home, back at the barn. Kirill was sewing something with old thread. A rough dress for Nira, from leftover cloth. Nira lay quietly under the lamp, eyes open but silent as always. Eli stepped inside and closed the door behind him. "We've got a problem," he said, voice low. "Someone's asking questions." Kirill stood up, her body tense. "Do we need to leave?" Eli looked at Nira, then back at Kirill. "No," he said. "Not yet, but we need to be careful. No lights at night, no sounds from the barn." "I understand," she said, nodding. "We'll stay hidden." That night, Kirill stayed. Awake while Nira slept, she sat by the fire Eli had built in a metal drum. Staring into the flames, Eli returned after closing up the house and found her there, quiet and lost in thought. "You said she hasn't spoken since the crash?" he asked, sitting near the fire. Kirill nodded. She saw too much. "Do you think she'll talk again?" Kirill didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, "She might, if she feels safe." She never had safety before. Eli looked at the sleeping child, curled in blankets. "I'm not sure how long I can protect you," he said, voice heavy. "But for now, this is your home." Kirill looked at him, her eyes glowing faintly in the firelight. "No one's ever said that to me," she said, voice shaking. "Not once in my life." Eli didn't speak again. The fire crackled softly, and in the silence, Nira stirred in her sleep, her fingers moving as if reaching for something she lost. Neither Kirill nor Eli saw it, but her lips moved slightly. No words came out, but it was a start. The morning started with a sharp sound. Metal bending, wires snapping. Eli dropped his tools and rushed toward the west side of the farm. There, along the dry fence line, a section had been cut, clean, deliberate, not the work of animals. He knelt down and saw boot prints in the dust, heavy, not his, and worse. There were small, glowing threads caught on the broken wire. Threads from Kirill's cloak. His heart sank. Someone had been watching. Someone close enough to know she was. Here, he returned to the barn quickly, finding Kirill feeding Nira with warm soup. Her eyes met his, and she knew something was wrong. "Someone cut the fence," he said quietly. "And they left in a hurry." Kirill froze. Spoon halfway to Nira's lips. "I didn't leave the barn," she whispered. "Not once." "I believe you," Eli said. "But someone saw you, or maybe her," he added, nodding to the child. "We have to move faster now." Kirill set the bowl down and stood, fists clenched. "I'll leave," she said suddenly. "I'll take Nira and go. You've already done too much." Eli shook his head, firm and calm. "I said this is your home for now, and I meant it. But if someone's watching, we need to be smarter." They spent the next few hours patching the fence. Kirill worked in silence, her eyes scanning the horizon with every movement. Nira sat inside the barn, covered in blankets, too weak to walk. Eli taught Kirill how to stack bales against the inside door just in case. He didn't say in case of what. They both understood that night. Eli stayed up late in his house. He sat at the window, shotgun loaded, eyes locked on the barn in the distance. The stars were bright, but they didn't comfort him. Not anymore. A knock came at the door, slow and heavy. He grabbed the gun and opened it just a crack. Outside stood a man in a brown coat with dust-covered boots. His name was Harlow, a neighbor who owned land just over the ridge. A man who always asked too many questions. "Evening, Eli," Harlow said with a fake smile. "Heard you've been busy." Eli didn't move. "Just fixing my fence." "Funny," Harlow said. "My dog's been barking toward your field for 2 nights. You got coyotes or something else running around." His tone was casual, but his eyes were sharp. "Searching, reading, just animals," Eli replied. Nothing more. Harlow took a step closer. You ever hear of the refugee bounty going up? He asked. Double credits for female types. They say some of them hide in farms, act like pets, even try to trade favors to survive. Eli's grip on the door tightened. I don't keep pets, he said coldly. And I sure don't take in fugitives. Harlow smiled wider. Just checking, he said, tipping his hat. Be a shame if someone found out otherwise. He turned and walked away into the dark. Eli didn't move until the footsteps faded. Completely. Then he closed the door, locked it tight, and went straight to the barn. Inside, Kirill was already awake, sitting near the lamp with Nira sleeping beside her. She looked up when he entered and saw the look on his face. Who was it? She asked Harlow, Eli said, spitting the name like poison. He knows something, or thinks he does. Kirill's body went stiff, her hands shaking. Then it's time, she whispered. We can't stay. You've done enough. I won't. Let you burn for me. But Eli shook his head. No, he said. I made my choice the day I let you in. And I won't let that girl die out there. Kirill looked at him, tears building in her eyes. No one's ever stood up for us, she said. Not even our own people. You're the first. Eli sat down across from her firelight. Flickering between them, we're going to change that, he said. But we'll do it smart. Tomorrow, I want you to stay hidden. No noise, no lights. I'll spread some rumors, send Harlow chasing ghosts, and if he comes, back with patrols. She asked. Eli looked at the gun by the door. Then he'll learn this isn't his land. Kirill nodded, wiping her tears quickly. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like prey. She felt protected. Safe. Outside, the wind picked up, blowing dust across the broken fence line, and somewhere not far away, Harlow watched from the ridge with a scope in hand. He saw the faint orange glow in the barn, and he smiled. The sun rose heavy and hot the next morning. A dry wind swept across the fields, carrying dust and silence. It was harvest day, the most important day of the year for Eli. The crops were ready: corn, ground fruit, and fiber stems all waiting to be picked, dried, and sold. But today, Eli felt no excitement, only pressure. Kirill stood beside him, face shaded with a hood. She wore one of Eli's old shirts tied at the waist with rope, and boots too big for her feet. Still, she looked stronger, more stable, her back straighter, her steps firmer. Nira was inside the barn, still weak, but healing. She had even smiled once that morning. A tiny thing, but Eli had seen it. It stayed in his heart like a warm stone. We need to finish the east rows by mid-afternoon, Eli said, checking the sky. Kirill nodded, grabbing a basket. They worked fast, hands moving like machines. The sun beat down and sweat poured from them both. But Kirill didn't complain, not once. She knew this was her chance to prove she belonged. By midday, Eli stopped and scanned the field. His face tightened. Something was wrong. A whole patch of crops was ruined, wilted, poisoned, or pulled from the ground and left to rot. He dropped to one knee and touched the soil. It smelled faintly of acid. Kirill came beside him, holding her breath. Sabotage, Eli said. Voice like a stone, someone did this during the night. Kirill looked around, eyes narrowing. Harlow, she whispered. He's sending a message. Eli nodded. Slowly, he wants me to panic, lose my harvest, or give you up. But we won't. They worked harder, pushing their bodies past the edge. By sunset, they had saved most of the crop, but the damage was done. Nearly a third was gone, enough to cut deep into Eli's earnings, enough to make the winter harder. That night, the air felt thicker. Eli stored the baskets in the shed and locked every door. He gave Kirill a small meal and checked on Nira, who was now sitting up for short moments. Kirill helped her eat, humming softly, while Eli watched from the shadows. They were not his family, but it felt like something close, and that made the danger more real as darkness fell. A sharp noise rang through the field, glass breaking, followed by a whoosh. Eli bolted outside and saw flames dancing at the side of the barn. Someone had thrown a firebomb. He ran for water, shouting, "Kirill! Carol! Now!" Kirill grabbed Nira, lifting her in her arms and covering her with a blanket. Smoke filled the barn as she stumbled through the door. Coughing and crying, Eli dumped water over the flame, kicking dirt and stomping it out. The fire didn't spread far thanks to the wet hay. The warning was clear. Next time, it would be the whole barn, or the house. Next time, they might not wake up in time. Kirill sat on the ground outside, holding Nira close. Her face streaked with ash and fear. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I brought this on you, Eli." Sat beside her, breathing hard. "No," he said. "This is on them, not you. You didn't start this fire. They did. But if we stay," she whispered, "you'll lose everything." "I already did," he muttered. Eyes on the dying flame. "I lost my family, my friends, even my faith in people. But somehow, in the middle of this mess, you and that girl reminded me what it means to care. So no," he said firmly. "We don't run." Kirill looked at him. Eyes wet. She didn't speak, but her hands slowly reached for his. He didn't pull away. They sat together in the dirt, smoke rising behind them. The night was quiet again, but the silence felt sharp, like the calm before something worse. Later, as they moved back inside, Eli checked his old rifle again. He cleaned it slowly, hand steady. Kirill watched from the corner. "You were a soldier once," she said softly. Eli nodded. "Long time ago, but some things don't fade." She stepped forward. "If it comes to a fight," she said, "let me help. I've trained to not like humans do, but I can defend us." He looked at her for a moment, surprised but not doubtful. "All right," he said. "If it comes to that, we stand together." Then he added, "But I hope we never have to." Kirill nodded, but deep down, both of them knew the truth. The fire had changed everything. The harvest was only the beginning now. They were at war with someone who didn't want to fight fair, and worse, someone who had the law on his side. The night air felt wrong. Too quiet, too still. Even the insects had gone silent. Eli sat in his dark kitchen, oil lamp burning low, his old rifle resting across his lap. The firebomb from 2 nights ago still haunted him. He had rebuilt the side of the barn, moved the crop crates, and kept Kirill and Nira hidden. But deep down, he knew it was all borrowed time Kirill had. Barely slept. She stayed beside her sister, washing her wounds, whispering stories in a soft alien tongue. Nira had improved, her eyes brighter, her small fingers stronger, but she still didn't speak. Still only tapped once for no, twice for yes, and tonight she hadn't made a sound at all. Just before midnight, the sound came. Engines, low and growling. 4 black transport bikes rolled onto the dirt path. Lights off, tires silent. Eli stepped outside and aimed his rifle toward the dark. "Stay inside," he told Kirill. "No matter what happens, from the shadows." Voices came, rough, confident. Then boots hit the ground, 6 of them, armored, helmets glowing with scanner lights, bounty hunters, the worst kind, working for credits and collars. The leader stepped forward, holding a glowing chain whip and a data pad. "Name's Rolven," he said with a smirk. "We got a tip." Eli didn't lower his rifle. "No. Refugees here," he said flatly. "Only corn and quiet." Rolven laughed. "Yeah. Funny. This says you've been buying extra food, extra meds. Funny how the fires started too." He tilted his head. "We could check inside, just to be sure. You set 1 foot on my land without a warrant, and I'll bury you in." "Your boots," Eli growled. But the bounty hunters weren't afraid. They'd faced worse than farmers. One of them stepped toward the barn, raising a scanner. Then a soft cry. High and panicked, Nira, inside the barn, had woken up and called out. Not in words, but in fear. Kirill tried to hush her, but the sound was enough. The scanner lit up. Flashing red, there she is, one of the hunters grinned. Blue blood confirmed. Eli fired. Not a warning shot, but a real one. It hit the dirt near the hunter's feet, making him stumble back off. Eli shouted, "This is my land." The leader raised his whip, eyes cold. "You just made this personal," he growled. They rushed him. Eli fired again. Hitting one in the shoulder, sparks flew as the armor took the shot, but the force knocked. The man down, another tackled Eli, slamming him into the ground, knocking the gun from his hand. He fought like a beast. But age and numbers were against him. They pinned him, cuffed him, and kicked his rifle away. Meanwhile, two hunters burst into the barn. Kirill stood in front of Nira, arms wide, eyes glowing with fury. She grabbed a metal rod and swung it, catching. One of them in the jaw, he staggered back, but the other one caught her with a stun baton. She screamed as the shock tore through her. Still, she didn't fall. She bit down on her lip and lunged again, but this time they knocked her down hard. Then they chained her hands and feet, binding her like livestock. Eli watched as they dragged her out, blood on her face, hair wild, eyes still burning. Nira screamed a sound that broke the silence like glass. Her voice finally returned, was raw and full of pain. "Don't take her," she cried. "Please." Bounty hunters paused, shocked. The girl had spoken. Eli shouted through clenched teeth, "Let them go. Take me instead." But they laughed. "Old man's no good," Rulvin sneered. "But blue girls?" Worth a fortune as they pushed Kirill toward the transport bikes. She looked back at Eli. Her lips trembled. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to bring this on you." He looked her in the eyes, heart pounding. Then he roared. "Don't you apologize. You're not leaving." He broke free from one cuff, using a trick from his soldier days. He dove for the barn and grabbed the hidden sidearm in the hay. He fired, hitting a hunter in the leg, then another in the side. Chaos exploded. Kirill rolled away from her captor, kicking him in the head. Eli pulled her behind the water tank, reloaded, and handed her the knife he kept on his belt. "You said you could fight," he said. Kirill grinned, despite the pain. "Then, let's finish this." They fought side by side, wounded and outnumbered, but unyielding. The hunters panicked now, retreated under fire. Dragging their injured away, Rulvin shouted orders, but no one listened. Then he ran too. They left fast, leaving only smoke and blood behind. When it was over, Eli dropped to one knee. Coughing, Kirill sank beside him, bruised but alive. Nira crawled out of the barn and threw her arms around them both. Sobbing, Eli wrapped them in his arms, breath shaking. "I won't let them take you," he whispered. "Not now, not ever." Above them, the stars watched in silence, and far. Beyond the hills, others began to whisper about the farmer and the alien girl he chose to protect. The sun rose slowly. Red light spilled across the broken field, revealing burned grass, broken fences, and blood on the ground. Eli sat on the porch, his arm wrapped in cloth, bruises along his ribs. Beside him, Kirill leaned against the wall. Quiet, watching the horizon, her lip was cut. Her wrists still marked from the chains, but her eyes were calm now, stronger, sharper, inside the barn. Nira slept soundly for the first time in days, her small hands curled around a ragged cloth. Rabbit Kirill had sewn from scraps. The nightmares were gone, replaced by something new. Hope. The bounty hunters were gone, but they had left more than wounds. Eli knew it wasn't over. They would return, not with stun sticks and cuffs, but with warrants and soldiers. The attack had been loud, too loud. Someone in the city would hear about it soon. He had maybe a day, 2 at most. Still, he didn't run. Neither did Kirill. They sat in silence as birds returned to the trees. Then Kirill spoke, her voice soft. "You could still turn me in, say they forced you." Eli looked at her, his face unreadable. "I'm not that kind of man," he said. "You should know that by now." She smiled faintly. "I know," she whispered, "but I had to say it." He nodded, then leaned forward, elbows on knees. "I can't protect you here anymore," he said. "This farm-it was everything to me, but now it's a target." Kirill glanced at the house, the barn, the land he'd bled over for years. "You'd give it all up?" she asked. "For us?" "I already have," he said. "The day I gave you shelter, this place stopped being mine. It became something more." She stared at him, blinking back tears. "Then take us with you," she said. "Wherever you go, we'll follow. Not because we owe you," she added, "but because we want to." Eli stood and looked out over the fields one last time. It was home. Yes, but not more important than the people inside that barn. He made his choice. By evening, they had packed what little they could. Food, medicine, tools, the old sidearm. Eli placed Nira gently in the hover cart, wrapped in blankets. Kirill tied her cloak tight and slung a small satchel over her back. They left just after sunset, taking the back road into the hills. Not a word spoken, only wind and wheels on dust. They moved fast through the night. Staying off known paths, Kirill helped guide them. She knew old trade routes used by survivors. Like her, they reached the edge of a ruined city by morning. The buildings were cracked and empty, vines creeping up broken towers. No patrols came this far. Not since the wars. It was dangerous, but it was free, in one of the abandoned buildings. They made camp. Eli found a solar panel and managed to charge the heating lamp. Nira slept soundly again, her strength slowly returning. Kirill stayed close, guarding her like a mother wolf. Eli watched them both and realized he wasn't just protecting them anymore. They were his family now. A few days passed in peace. Then one night, while tending a small fire, Kirill turned to Eli. "There's something I never told you," she said, "when you found me in your field. I wasn't just stealing for food." Eli raised an eyebrow, listening. "I had been running from someone," she continued. "A buyer. They had marked me already, claimed me as property when I escaped the crash. I knew if they found me again, they'd take me back in chains." Eli clenched his fists. "You're free now," he said. "I'll never let them take you again." Kirill looked into his eyes, tears threatening. "You gave me that freedom," she whispered. "No one else ever did. You didn't just save my life, Eli, you gave me a reason to live it." She moved closer, gently resting her hand over his. "You don't owe me anything," she said. "But if you'll have me body, soul, and all I'm yours." Eli didn't speak for a moment. Then he took her hand in both of his firm and warm. "You're not mine because I own you," he said. "You're mine because we chose each other." Kirill nodded, smiling through her tears. And that night, under the cracked ceiling of an old world, they held each other. Not as fugitive and farmer, not as alien and human, but as two souls who had survived everything and still dared to love. In the weeks that followed, word spread across the fringe worlds, not about war or money, but about a human who had chosen compassion over fear. About an alien girl who had once offered her body and soul for a scrap of bread, but found something far greater. Home,